5 rounds in, 9 to go in the 2026 Repco Supercars Championship. You are watching the run home, thanks to our great supporters from Bailey Ladders. You're here with Supercars.com journalist James Pavey and 2015 Supercars champion Mark Winterbottom. Frosty, 5 rounds down, it feels like it's gone in the blink of an eye, but mate, we've got a bit of a championship story to unpack, haven't we?
Yeah, it's been a great championship so far, and I guess every time someone fires a shot, then they have a bad round and they drop back. So no one's wanted to hold that, the orange number on the side of the car, except for one man who's actually starting to deliver now, Brock Feeney. So incredible championship. Some great stories have unfolded. There's a lot more to go, trust me.
So Brock leads the championship by 90 points over Matt Payne. Brodie Kostecki, who led as recently as Christchurch, is now 173 points behind. Frosty, that's a lot of points. He dropped 150 points to Brock in Tasmania alone. I mean, this world moves fast, pardon the pun, but how did you see that unfolding for Brodie? That was a pretty big weekend for him.
I think Brodie's doing an incredible job, but you can't help it when you go up the hairpin and jump on the brakes and someone hits you from 10 metres behind and rips a rear end of your car out and you get 0 points. So that's unavoidable. Like for Brodie, you have to say that's unavoidable for him, and just a mistake on Dave's behalf to put him out of the race. But he's so fast. Brodie is that guy that even in qualifying, he topped the timesheets. He didn't get it right in the shootout with tyre strategy, but he is very fast at the moment. And the way this finals campaign is going to play out, he's a bit hot and cold. We've seen him be hot and cold in terms of results. But in the last couple of rounds after the Gold Coast, the Gold Coast included, this is where guys like Brodie are going to fire. So I think he's in a very good position. He's very fast, just a little bit unlucky with a few points that have gone begging.
So 5 wins for Brodie through 5 rounds. Is it unfair to assess them poorly after what happened on the last day in Tasmania? I mean, starting 5th after qualifying on provisional pole and then finishing 12th and losing so many points to Brock in one race. Is that an unfair representation of how well Brodie and the team have gone this year?
Oh, I think they've got incredible. So he's one of the standouts for me for the year so far. So he's just thrown a few points away through different things. But you've got to imagine on Sunday they'll be trying things on the car because you can't sit on your hands. And we saw him dominate the Grand Prix like he did. And you think, hey, Brodie's unstoppable. Next round, Matt Payne comes out and Penrite with Kai Allen as well, dominate that weekend. So if you sit on your hands, you get overtaken. So I'm sure they would have tried something on the car come Sunday. They finished 12th. Still third in the points. You're still going to hold that position. And gone are the days where you need to be the accumulator that we've seen in the past. Like I said, finals is about making sure that you deliver in those last few rounds of the championship. So I think he is doing an incredible job. They're always trying to evolve and get the car better. And he's just got to stay out of trouble too. I think he's been caught up in a few things. We saw Chaz at Christchurch and we saw Dave Reynolds at Tassie. So you've got to finish and get the points. But in terms of raw speed, always up the front, he's one of the standouts of the year so far.
But the raw facts, Frosty, I mean, Brodie's lost 234 points to Brock in 4 races. Think back to what happened in Christchurch with Chaz Mostert. That had everyone talking for such a long time. But as for what happened in Tasmania, Scott Sinclair, the Supercars data analyst, he said, and I quote, "It's a small stutter as opposed to a tumble. There's nothing to suggest it's cause for alarm." Do you agree with that statement?
I don't even think it's a stumble, to be honest. He's had one bad race. If I was racing in the championship right now, I'd be very nervous at beating Brodie Kostecki in the championship. So I don't see it as a stutter. I don't see it as a fumble. He's very, very fast. And this is what he's done. He's created an expectation. When you get 5 wins, you create an expectation that every time you roll out, you've got to win the race. So I think he'd be pretty confident behind the scenes, and it puts pressure on other people. So I think he's in a good position. And really, if I was Brodie Kostecki, I'd be very happy with how I'm rolling along at the moment. So I wouldn't even call it a stutter or a stumble or anything. I'm sure he'll bounce back very quickly. And this sport's very, very short term, James. Like when you win and dominate, you're the flavour of the month. When you have a round that you finish 5th or 6th and you lower your expectation a bit and results, you're out of flavour. It's a very quick turning sport. So I think he's pretty good, mate. I think he'll be back before you know it.
But Frosty, put us in the driver's helmet. I mean, Craig Lowndes in his column, he wrote, Brodie needs a reset, but importantly, he must believe in the performance of the team. So we've seen how well that 17 Ford can be this year. How hard is it as a driver to try and not get sucked into a result like that or a weekend like that and not let it snowball?
It happens. That's motorsport. If you're worried about every bad result, you'd give up, because this sport, it's so tough. People don't understand how tough it is to win a race, let alone be competitive week in, week out. And when you do win races, the pressure builds. And, for Brodie, I don't think he'd worry at all. He's a very strong, tough racer. And I think he's quite resilient in the way he can bounce back. So for him, if I was Brodie Kostecki and put my helmet on, I'd be confident of winning every time I go out, which is a pretty powerful thing. On the flip side, he's also got a young teammate, Roland Gray, who I thought he stepped up a bit too on the weekend, and he's starting to, I guess, progress as a rookie and doing well. So a bit of support from Roland to Brodie, because in fairness, when you've got a rookie, you pretty well are running the team, the development, all the pressure's on you. And if we can get Roland up as a DJR person and get him up, then that takes a bit of pressure off Brodie and support as well. So that team's going to get better and better. If I'm Brodie, I'm very, very happy. And when people they're not ruling you out, but they're talking you down a little bit, that's powerful for a guy like Brodie, because he's a tough racer and he wants to win. And no doubt, I can say he'll be back on that top step very, very soon. Hopefully not tail and bend and Bathurst when it's against us like he did last year, but trust me, he will bounce back very quickly. And they wouldn't be panicking. They're in a very good spot.
So speaking of winning, Frosty, let's move along to who stepped up with Bailey Ladders, Brock Feeney back in victory lane. And for the first time, can you believe it, since Melbourne back in March, it's hard to believe that he won the Jason Richards Trophy in New Zealand, didn't win a race at all across those 2 weeks. But that performance on Sunday really caught my eye, Frosty, to get that pole, which we all know Brock can do so consistently, but to really get through that first stint in Sunday's race and then just drove away from the field. I mean, Brock stepped up in a big, big way. Your thoughts on Brock, mate? Can he be beaten for this Sprint Cup?
Well, I said he's one of the smartest drivers in pit lane previously, and it backed it up on the weekend. Look, when you win 19 races last year, again, not having won a race since the Grand Prix for him is it's a crazy stat in the terms of what we expect from Brock Feeney. But on the weekends, he hasn't been winning. He finishes second. He finishes third. He's not making enemies, and he's always there and continuing to build. So the flip side to him, as opposed to Brodie, when you crash, you lose some development and testing effectively in the races. So you're repairing cars, not making them go faster. So this is what Brock's done really well since he crashed at the Grand Prix. He's finished races. They've got the car better and better. And then Saturday at Tassie, he was very clever behind Andre. He could have got inside him at the hairpin and roughed him up a bit, but he played the long game, finished second, an incredible result, which then means Saturday night they go in, they brief, they make the car better. They didn't have to fix an upright or panel damage or whatever it was, make the car fast. Shootout lap was amazing. And the race, he controlled that race. He pretty well didn't look like losing it up in front. So that's the Brock Feeney we expect. But on a bad day, he's delivering. And on a good day, he wins. So he's the accumulator at the moment. He's not going to get the 19 wins we saw last year. But I'm sure come Gold Coast, his aggression's going to go up. And that's when he's going to have to get the elbows out. So incredible drive. And he's a very, very clever. He's not young. He's young, but he's so experienced. He's a very clever young driver. And he's leading for a reason and continuing to build the gap on the opposition.
So Sunday's race for me, Frosty, was a huge, huge performance by Brock. But I think it was the second race on Saturday that really made me raise my eyebrows further, in the way that he had so much opportunity and so much time in that first stint versus Andre Heimgartner to make a move. But at the same time, I asked Brock in the press conference, and I was like, well, what are the odds that you punt Andre and try and get the move done with a little bit of force? But Brock was pretty clever. He said, well, what's the point of risking a penalty? Second is also good. So he truly is thinking about accumulating points. What does that mean for the rest of the field when someone is so high-tuned into how they have to win a championship?
Oh, he's very clever. But you don't win a championship this way. I think this, like the way the finals are, James, you've got to accumulate, not have enemies, and then when it comes final time, you have to be this aggressive, elbows out, and just go all out like we saw last year. And if you're not doing it, you need your teammate to be doing it to back you up. So I think the way he's driving at the moment is so smart, and he's buying his ticket into the finals and continuing to, I guess, get a gap on the field. He's keeping that orange number, and he's buying himself a buffer for, when he does have a bad race or a do not finish, he's still going to be leading the championship. So very, very clever in that aspect. As a driver, you don't know how hard it is when you see someone like Andre in front of you. Andre was using the top line at the hairpin, going very, very wide, going out and trying to bait, I guess, Feeney to come in, but he knew he wasn't going to, I guess, make contact or door him. But as a driver, it's so hard to not just see that gap and go for it. And Brock's patience and the way he can, I guess, think of the long game is not many drivers can do that. So very, very clever. But come Gold Coast, Brock Feeney is going to have to ruffle a few feathers, because we saw that's how you win championships. He'll be in the points. He'll be in the top 4, top 10, top 7. He'll make his way all the way through to Adelaide, I feel. But come Adelaide, he needs to learn from last year, and he's going to have to rough a few people up, and that's not how he naturally drives. So you're going to see, I think, a different Brock Feeney come Adelaide when he makes the top 4.
So Frosty, let's move this along to the guy you just mentioned, Andre Heimgartner. There was a fantastic performance on Saturday, pole position, race win. But the thing I really enjoyed most about Andre was he didn't let a chance slip to get the boot into Cam Waters, saying that, I acted like an A-grade driver and got that one through. So a big result for Andre, a bit of a surprise as well, given that Toyota is still learning their car and Brad Jones Racing, to be fair, had kind of been nowhere up until Tasmania. That's a huge statement of intent from Andre, isn't it?
He was very good on the super soft tyre, and he would have hoped that whole weekend, I think, was on that blue sidewall tyre. So he delivered big time on Saturday, and to lead a race and not just lead it, but the pressure he was under from Brock Feeney in that stint was massive. So I thought that was an incredible win. And then after the stop, BJR again showed how powerful they are in pit lane. They just reacted when they needed to. They got the job done. They built a buffer in the pits, and then he went on and held on for Saturday. So big tick to the team, big tick to Andre. I don't know about the comments. I don't know if I won the race, I'd be referring to Cam, because if I was Cam Waters, I would have said, hey, I'm probably in his head if he's still thinking about it 3 rounds later. So I think Cam will like that comment, even though Andre directed it towards Cam, mentioning the grade of driver he was, and clearly he was an A-grade driver on Saturday afternoon. But they're the mind games of the sport, That was a couple of months ago, that comment, and he's still holding on to it. So I think that's a win for both, to be honest. I'll say a win for Cam, that he's still thinking about it, and a win for Andre on Saturday afternoon, stepping up and delivering, because, that was a big win. That was under pressure, big win for the team, new manufacturer. In the pits, they delivered. So Phil Key does a lot of good things, and at Tassie is very special, and they got the job done Saturday afternoon. That was a great win.
Frosty, you were a teammate, in essence, with Andre Heimgartner many years ago when you were at Pro Drive. Is he an underrated driver in supercars?
Oh, no, underrated's a tough word. I think it depends on your car and your equipment, and I think BJR are a lot better than what they get credit for, because although they play the Albury Country team, there's some very smart people there. Brad Jones is a really good operator. The Toyota package is quite strong. So Andre is leading that team, there's no doubt. So, in terms of BJR, the number 1 driver is Andre. If you put him in a Triple Eight car, would he beat Brock Feeney? If you put him in a Tickford car, would he beat Cam Waters? I don't know. You don't know until they get in there. So he's clearly a good driver. I don't ever rate drivers, because if you call someone B, they go out the next round and win, and you go, they're an A and I must be a D at the moment. So I never ever rate drivers on good or bad, but when they're in the same equipment, he was at Tickford in his first year, very inexperienced, very raw. So we didn't see the Andre that you see now that you saw back then. So really hard to comment, mate. Until you're in the same equipment, in the same car, like I couldn't say. But if you win races, you're a race winner. You have to say you're pretty good. You're only as good as your last race. So 2 races ago, he was the best.
It was a hell of a win, though. I mean, the stat, again, pulled by Scott Sinclair. Feeney applied the longest period of sustained pressure for the lead of a race that we've seen in the last 10 years. So clearly, Andre had to work hard for that one. You've been in those situations, Frosty, where you've got it all to lose and you're trying to chase a win. There's a guy behind you. Let's say 2013 Bathurst, for example, when you've got Whincup behind you. The slightest mistake at any corner could completely change the complexion of the race. Simmons Plains 120k sprint is a bit different to Bathurst, but Andre, that win meant so much to him. If he makes a mistake, bowls are wide and Brock Feeney wins, I mean, the whole story completely changes. So your thoughts on that first stint to sustain that pressure, to not get sucked into that pressure from Brock, and then build off a great pit stop and win the race?
Well, I'd rather Brock Feeney behind me than Jamie Whincup. I'm going to say that because watching Brock, he's very calculated. And I think, like I said before, if that was in the finals, he has to door Heimgartner to get through. There's no nice guy accumulation. So at that point of the race, Andre had done his research. He knew that Brock, the way he was driving, and he'd analysed him. And for whatever it was, 20 laps there, like you said, he was watching at the hairpin, going wide and having the confidence to know that he could punch off the corner and out-drag into the back straight. So, yeah, one mistake and it's all over. And you can get from 0 to 0 very quickly. But he was fast in the right spots. And I think that's what Andre knew. He was very strategic on how he drove and to not make mistakes. You can picture when you're watching on TV, the cars break 150 metres, 140 metres, 6th gear up into turn 4. The rears are locking the first, go all the way through the gearbox. When you pull first, the tyres chirp, you turn. To do that under immense pressure for 20 laps is really, really hard to do. So you could see him. He'd come out of 2 okay. He'd always look in the mirror. He never blocked. He always went up high and backed himself, knowing that Brock wasn't going to dive down the inside. It was quite calculated and he got the job done. And when you do win that way, it's such a more rewarding win than what we see from Brock Feeney on Sunday when he drives off and dominates the field. So Andre's emotion would have been huge. BJR's first win, Andre's first win for quite some time. So, first win in a Toyota, all those things. You can picture the pressure he was under, and to deliver is a big tick to him. And that's why you celebrate these results, because it could be another 12 months, could be another 2 years before you taste that success again. So he did, incredible job under immense pressure with the championship leader breathing down your neck. So he did a good job.
Speaking of first win in a Toyota, Chaz Mostert, he's back, mate. That was a huge result for him. It'd been a pretty tough run to Tasmania. Chaz was in and around the finals bubble. He is the reigning champion after all. How important is that win for Chaz Mostert to, 1, get that win for him personally, but 2, get the critics off his back?
He's been under pressure, but it reminds me a lot of last year. This point last year, he was under pressure too, and Ryan Wood was starting to step up. And, I remember Ipswich, he was under massive pressure, but this game can turn very quickly. And we even saw it on the weekend. Saturday, race 1, dominated, absolutely dominated, 5.2 seconds, whatever the lead was. Come over the line. He was in cruise control when he was leading that race. And that was a scary sign to the opposition, because effectively Chaz was just saying, hey, number 1, I am back. But then the sport changes quickly. The race 2, he struggled, and race 3, he struggled again. So I don't know how he would come away from that weekend. Big tick to win, a lot of confidence from Saturday. But then coming home Sunday night, he actually didn't deliver on the same tyre, same conditions effectively, and couldn't get the job done. So chat up and down a bit, at the moment. So I don't know mentally how he would feel, but to get a race win, Saturday afternoon, he would have been absolutely buzzing, because it has been a tough start, and coming off the controversy at Christchurch as well, the best way to bounce back is to get a race win and to quite, silence the critics, I guess, and put a big stamp on your results. So really important in that aspect. But he's not out of the woods yet. I think he needs to find consistency, and he's one of the best qualifiers in the field, and it's not working for him consistently at the moment. So race pace is strong, but qualifying, Chaz Mostert's strength is qualifying, and it's not working at the moment. So he still has work to do to cement a top 10 spot.
So speaking of not out of the woods yet, I'm going to mention Will Brown, the 2024 champion. It's been an up and down season for him, but the stat I pulled was since the start of Topor, he's actually scored the 4th most points of any driver. He's now back inside the top 10 Still not quite comfortable, but 140 points to the cut line is a big deal for Will. Is he safe, or does he need to start winning races, Frosty?
He needs to start winning races because there's a difference between being safe and being a true contender for this championship. So I saw desperation from him with the De Pasquale move. I thought De Pasquale had the move done, and then then Brown nudged him at the last corner to push him wide, and then De Pasquale didn't fold. So this is what happens. You start showing a bit of grit and fight and put your elbows out, and people are going to deliver it back. So when De Pasquale got him back at 1, that put Brown back on the back foot, back in the pack. He started blocking up to the hairpin. Another goal was into him. So I wouldn't say he might be safe for the 10, but he needs to do a bit of work to get back in that championship form that we saw him hit last year. You know, he was, come Adelaide, still a contender to win the championship. So no doubt, great driver. He'll be back in the mix. But this is why I love what Brock's doing. He's not making enemies. So next time he's side by side with De Pasquale, he's not going to think, oh, I'll just let him through. They think about these moments when they rough you up. So got to be careful how hard you push this early in the championship and how many enemies you make. But he'll make the 10. There's no doubt he'll make the 10. But you've got to make the 7, you've got to make the 4, and you've got to deliver at Adelaide. So that's the telling signs for Brown. I think, you need to start winning races to get that top 4 mindset come Adelaide that you're a true contender.
So let's chat about Anton De Pasquale and David Reynolds. Team 18 clearly made a step forward in Tassie, Frosty, but can they sustain this performance? Because Darwin, the Camaro, is undefeated in the Gen 3 era. Seeing Dave on the podium on Saturday was a great result, but it kind of fell apart in the 2 races after that. Anton was in and around the top 5 towards the podium for that weekend. How big of a challenge is it for Team 18 to sustain that speed and carry it through?
Well, who knows? Like, there's been parity talk before going into that event, which is surprising that the parity trigger was activated. But was it the parity that helped them? Was it track specific? Because they have gone well there previously last year. And the year before, Dave was quite competitive there as well. So we won't see the true read of how competitive the Chev and the parity changes are until we see a few races. But you'd have to say, looking at Ojeda as well, he was very competitive and did a really good job. So I think the Chev has got a little bit quicker. De Pasquale is still leading that team, that homologation program, and the Chev badge. So he did a good job, wasn't dominant, but was fast enough to be up the front and in the mix. And Dave on Saturday, I was so happy for Dave to get a podium because he's under pressure. Like he's copying it at the moment, and he delivered on the weekend. He's a great driver. When he has the equipment and he's in the right mindset, he's going to get on the podium. And I was so proud of him to see him get that result. Obviously, Saturday afternoon and Sunday didn't go to plan for him, but a podium was so cool. So we'll see. Darwin, I don't know if that stat's going to remain because the cars, the cars are the cars, but the teams have changed. And Triple Eight are no longer in a Chev, and they've got a good record at Hidden Valley as well. So will they win the next one? Probably not. But who am I to say? I've won there in the Chev, and I think De Pasquale won there last year, didn't he? So who knows? But we'll find out. We'll find out how good the Chev is come Darwin in a couple of weeks' time.
Anton got his elbows out. That battle with Will Brown on Sunday was awesome. I mean, people have criticised him for not having enough mongrel. Is that the mongrel you need to get through the finals, Frosty, for example?
Yeah, I when I look at De Pasquale, when he's in my mirrors, it was always one that I'm like, oh, he's not going to pass me. And that's not critique. He's always been quite conservative. But on the weekend, I'm sure Brown had that same mindset. And this is how, although we study our competitors, and you kind of have a bit of a read on your mind that if this guy's behind you, you're safe. If this guy's behind you, he's going to attack and hurt you. So, but Brown roughed him up. And then literally next minute, De Pasquale's like, no, I'm not copying that. Bang, knocked him off. And I guarantee Brown would not do that again, knowing the outcome. And that probably surprised him as it did me when I was watching. So that's good for De Pasquale. That's good to show your aggression, to sort of show that you're not going to get pushed around, because Saturday race 1, he did get pushed around. One was by Reynolds, actually, to pass him, and a couple of other people pushed him around and he folded. But Sunday was elbows out and showed a bit of flex. So to win the championship and to get into finals and work your way through that's how you have to drive. So I thought that was good from Anton to see how much he wanted it, not get pushed around, and actually do it in a way where he still come out and held position and push Brown off to make him lose position. So he's quite clever on how he did it, and more of that from Anton would definitely help his championship hopes.
So a lot more to come there for General Motors. Now, Frosty, a word on Tickford Racing. You were in the garage all weekend. We had a bit of a chat on Friday. The speed's not quite there for those guys. Still in qualifying, Kim Waters debuted a brand new car. They've got one building in the works for Thomas Randall. What do you think that team needs to take that next step? Because clearly Cam's driving really, really well, lacking a bit of 10th.
Well, I think the team's, qualifying so close. They missed the top 10, 0.005 or whatever it was. So, for Cam on Sunday. So it's not that far away, but Tickford's got a high expectation, and so they should, that, they're championship contenders. So they need to find a little bit, but they're trying a lot at the moment. And when it gels, when it clicks, it'll come quite quickly. So I'm sure they're okay. One thing that I've seen, even on the weekend, Cam is digging himself out of situations really well. And he's raced as good, if not better, than I think I've ever seen him drive. So he stayed clean. He's been aggressive when he needs to. He salvaged points, and he's still fourth in the points when people are thinking they're struggling. Look at Randall. I thought he was very quick. He was a bit unlucky at some points with traffic and a few different things in qualifying, but he made the top 10, probably with a little bit different tyre sequence. He could have bounced up further, and I thought he drove really well as well. So it's hard when you're a good team and you're a really powerful team. You cop criticism really quickly, so they'll bounce back. They'll bounce back quite quickly, I think. And I wouldn't write them off either. He's fourth, Cam's fourth, and he hasn't even pulled the trigger yet on how good that team can be. So the way the finals are again might work in their favour, and they can chip away as the year goes on. So not the level they want, but I don't think the result's too far away.
Long way to go in this season, Frosty. Hey, before I let you go, do you have any sort of highlights from this season so far? I've got my 3 key moments that I've leapt out to explain, but what's caught your eye through 5 rounds and 16 races in 2026?
I was going to say give you yours first, and I'll see if they're the same, but I'm going to say Ryan Wood's win. I thought that was really, really cool to see him win the first ever Toyota win, New Zealander winning on home turf in Taupo. That was cool. I really, really liked that. Another one was Brodie Kostecki's dominance at the Grand Prix. You cannot realise how hard it is to win at the Grand Prix. 4 qualifying sessions, 4 laps that you've got to do in quali to perfection, effectively, to put you up the front. 4 races over 4 days, whatever it is. It's so hard to get one result, let alone 4. So 3 wins, the way he dominated there in a second. I thought that one was really good as well. And there's been so many moments. You can sort of rattle off each round. There's been some really good stuff. The third one's probably Brock Feeney. The way he rolled out at Sydney, he got beat up over Christmas. That would have been so difficult. Living under a cave, growing a beard, wondering if you're ever going to win it, and to roll out the way he did at Sydney. And the maturity and the way he goes about his racing, those 3 for me are by far my key standouts for the year so far.
Nice. Well, I'm going to counter you and say I think I was out of my chair when Kai Allen tried to go around the outside of Brock Feeney in Sydney. That was absolutely sensational. And 2 controversial moments which really stand out in my mind. First of all, the big crash again involving Brock Feeney in Melbourne. I don't think anyone saw that coming, at least not the scale of that incident. And then, of course, what went down in the Christchurch finale between Brodie Kostecki and Chaz Mostert. Frosty, let's wrap this up. The run home thanks to Bailey Ladders. The next stop is the Better Darwin Triple Crown on June 19 to 21. It's going to be warm. We're going to put this... Fucking up. Frosty, let's wrap this up. The Bailey Ladders run home. Let's look towards the Darwin Triple Crown on June 19 to 20. We're going to put our pants away, get the shorts on. It's going to be warm, mate. This is going to be a huge season unfolding. I don't know where this is going to go from here, but one thing's for sure, Brock Feeney is really starting to show some speed. Till next time, mate.
See you then.